There's a sweet sorrow, if you will, regarding this subject, because we're talking about something that is dealing with the foundational nature of this country and yet of all humanity, and that's life and what we'll do with life. And I jotted down just a few words before I came up to manage this hour, and I wrote down that every generation, Mr. Speaker, seems to grapple with an issue that transcends all others. That issue for 31 years has been whether government will protect from destruction life, innocent human life. We have lost 50 million fellow Americans. And now we've lost the children, some of whom those 50 million would have born. There are 50 million women whose bodies were violated by the horrific violence that we call here in this chamber abortion. There are 50 million men who have lost out on the tremendous privilege and joy of fatherhood. And our nation today is poor because we're missing, Mr. Speaker, 50 million fellow Americans, so sadly.
Well, I'm intrigued with something which Robbie George of Princeton has come up with, which is an interpretation of the 14th Amendment in which it says that Congress shall define personhood. That's very clearly in the 14th Amendment. And part of what I would like to explore is whether or not you could get the Congress to pass a law which simply says personhood begins at conception. And therefore, and that you could in the same law block the court and just say this will not be subject to review, which we have precedent for.
I am pro-life. I mean, I've got two little adopted girls who remind me every day about the value of life. Their mothers, for whatever reason, I'll never get to meet them, one from China, one from India, they chose life. They didn't have to. They lost their girls, they dropped them off, they were both born into extreme, dire poverty circumstances. We now have them in our family, and every day I look at the contributions they're making through their own lives.
I believe that life begins at conception, and that life should be guaranteed under the Constitution. That is a person.
So even in a case of rape or incest, that would be taking a life.
That would be taking a life, and I believe that that any doctor who performs an abortion, that I would advocate that any doctor that performs an abortion should be criminally charged for doing so. I've never supported criminalization of abortion for mothers, but I do for people who perform them. I believe that life is sacred. It's one of those things in the Declaration of Independence. We are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, and the first is life. And I believe that that life should be protected. At the moment, it is a human life, and at conception, it is biologically human, and it's alive, it's a human life, it should be a person under the Constitution.
I support life from conception. No, people shouldn't be just free to abort, because if we don't protect the sanctity of life from conception, we will also start to play God relative to life at the end of life.
You got to be for life. I mean, how do you get up every morning and look yourself in the mirror if you can't be for life? I mean, to me that's the pursuit of life, and liberty, and happiness. That's what this country was based on. And when that conception occurs, that's life. And defending it and protecting it and standing up for it. Is what we all ought to be about.
I will be a pro-life president, just like I've been a pro-life governor. I'll appoint and fight for justices who follow the law, the Constitution, who understand judicial restraint, and who won't legislate from the bench.
This whole notion of life not being valuable just is something I was never able to accept. I happened to have walked into an operating room where they were doing an abortion on a late pregnancy. They lifted out a small baby that was able to cry and breathe, and they put in a little bucket and put it in a corner of the room and pretended it wasn't there. I walked down the hallway, and a baby was born early, slightly bigger than the baby that they just put in a bucket. They wanted to save this baby. So they might have had 10 doctors in there doing everything conceivable Who are we to decide that we pick and throw one away and pick up and struggle to save the other ones? Unless we resolve this and understand that life is precious and we must protect life, we can't protect liberty.